Okay, so I left the last video and I went, you know what, there's actually a couple problems that are going to come back and haunt me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix them. First problem, you're actually noticing the piston is flipping out over here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go in here to create, I'm going to create a locator. Okay, and let's just bring this locator someplace where we can see it. I'll take the local scale values and make it big. Okay, great. And let's just pull it up a bit higher. This one here, let's call it locator, and we'll call it underscore orient, something like that, so that it's going to help, or we call it like piston orient or something like that. Let's do that, because that's even better. Piston orient. So, we got a problem. On our joint, if I go into the attribute editor, I'm going to notice that there is the aim constraint, and there's this world up type, and it's based on vectors here, and we're getting this aim vector is on Y, and the other one's here on Z, and it's causing it to flip. So what I can use is this thing. I can go into object rotation up. When I do that, it opens up this area here where I can type in the name of an object. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to take this, copy it, and I go back to the joint aim constraint object rotation up is on. I'm going to paste in that name and I'm going to hit enter. And now that locator is going to help control this piston where it pops. And if I take it, I can sometimes figure out quickly just by holding down J when I'm rotating. There, yeah, right there. I found it already. Negative 90. I rotated it 90 degrees in this one axis, and that's helping control where that's going to point. And I could probably do the same thing to the other joint. If I grabbed it and I had there's the piston middle parent constraint, there's the other, no, the other one's right there, joint 1. I could name these a bit more cleverly. And I'll put the object orientation up, hold down V, or Control V, bloop, paste it in, and that flipped the other one around as well. Now let's just take a look and see if that's working. Okay, kind of hard to see what's going on there because it's a little bit, let's go and pull it down like this. Okay, what if I lock the orientation of that? Okay, so I don't see any popping, doesn't flip. Here, I'll even go in here to show and I'll hide my joints. Okay, and then, whoop, what the hell's that? Okay, there's another problem that I kind of skipped over. If I open up the hypergraph here, we're going to clean this up in a second. I suspect it's the elbow control. I'm just going to go in here and I'll show. Remember, whenever you're looking here, I always have display, shape, hidden, underworld nodes on, so I can quickly find things in here. Okay, so I showed it, and there's my locator right there. And it's just, if I put it low and back here someplace, the chances of me flipping are less. Okay, so that's better. That's fixed. And I'm just going to take this and zero it out. Those values I have are huge. Okay, so that's all lined up. And then I got one more problem here. I got this problem. My piston somehow, my piece, because I've been horsing around and moving things around, is off. Okay, it's no longer centered from this one side. And I've got a constraint on it, so that makes it really hard to get to. And you can see I've actually got some funny transformations here on it too. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and find it in the hypergraph. Boop, there it is. And there's the constraint right there. I can just actually go and delete that. And then I can take this and let's go to my side view. And I'll hit if, frame it. Let's go into wireframe so I can see it. And if I just hold down V, there I can snap it so it's centered again. I'll delete the history, freeze the transformations. There was no history to really put on it, so that's not a big deal. And I've frozen the transformations. Any other problems I notice here? Actually, if we go back to the right view, did I see some other stupid problem because I was smoking crack again? Oh, you bastard, what were you thinking? Okay, your piston is working, but it's not centered. So, if, let's see, first things first, let's fix this one. So this one here is an easy fix because this one is bound. It's bound in here. If I delete the history, the binding goes away. The pivot point for this is in a funny spot, D and V. There. If I hold down V, now I can move this back over to here. There. And I'll freeze out the transforms on that. Do I see any other garbage that I went too quickly and too confidently through this whole thing? Okay, there we go. Got it. So this one, and I'll bring back and show my joints. This one, take that, and I'll go in here to rigging, skin, bind skin. Bloop, that's fixed. Then if I select this joint, hold down shift, select that joint, grab this thing, and I go here to constrain, I go parent, done. And let's just check it out. Does it work? Okay, I don't see any popping or any problems. Everything's good. And now I just want to organize the scene a little bit. So to organize the scene, let's go into the hypergraph. And you can do this in the, you could do this inside of the outliner as well. But let's see, this piston orient, I'm just going to take this and I'm going to parent that into my base control. And I'm just going to take both these things. If you right click on them, you can hide them here. One of the things I like in the hypergraph is you right click on things, you get hide, show. So it's just almost like using the layers. And actually, you know what? This thing, if I put it on here, is going to spin around. It might cause me problems. I'm going to unparent that. I'll bring that back in a second. If we take a look, there's all my geometry that I'm using. All these pieces here are my geometry. Let's do that because that's the fastest one to clean up. Grab all these pieces of geometry, and there's those pistons, and they're here. Holding down Control and Shift when I do that. I'm going to hit Control G on my keyboard, and that is going to give me a group. And I'm just going to change the name of the group, and I'm going to call this geo underscore GURP. Okay, so that's organized. And I could move some of these around if I wanted to, but I'm not going to do that. So all my geometry is in a group. The next thing is we have, there's my root joint. I'm going to group that too. Control G. That's just the same as going Edit, Group. And I'll take this group and we're going to call this skeleton underscore GURP. Great. So now I got those lined up. And then we got my controls here. There's just two controls. There's nothing really major going on here, so I'm just going to take this and I'm also going to group it, edit, group, just for the sake of, edit, group. Just keeping things, what's the word I'm looking for, organized and consistent. Control, oh crap. Did I just do something bad? Okay, let's try it again. Control underscore GURP. Take those vowels out, it's easier to look at. And then I've got these other two right in here. We got an IK handle and that piston orient that I have. I'm going to take those two and I'm going to go in and I'm going to group them as well. Control G. And I'm going to call this one Do Not Touch underscore GURP. Okay, the Do Not Touch GURP. This is, if you're dealing with a bunch of animators, it's always really good to put something like this in for stuff that you shouldn't touch. Somehow animators like to come in and muck about with things. And if I take all of these groups here and I group them, okay, we'll call this master underscore GURP. And then when you're dealing with the hypergraph and you want to organize things, double click. Okay, then the master group is collapsed and I double click again, it opens up. And this is very similar to the outliner. Okay, if I bring in the outliner, look, there, it's the same thing. Look, there they are, and I can start to look at my series of joints or whatever I want to here. My Do Not Touch group, I can see those things, and you can actually see they're hidden because the text color is different. Okay, and this is organized. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to do in here. I think I could probably name a few more things. I'm not sure if I named everything correctly, but that would probably be it. And everything's clean and ready, and this is a really good time to go in here, File, Save Scene As, and we'll call this Claw 7 for score. I'll call it Rig Ready, something like that, and hit continue, and that's all good. And we're almost set up for animating. What I'm going to do before I start animating playing with this, I am going to maybe do a bit more styling to these things. And I am going to, like, these are kind of boring. If I hit 3, they look blobby and uninteresting, so I might hard surface them. I hit 1. And once you're done that, if you do any UVing onto these things, I might go in and use Edit, Delete by Type, Non-Deformer History, because they're bound already. You could just delete the history and then rebind them to these joints. Doesn't matter. There's 2 different ways of doing that. So that's it. It's done. Stop.